Justify begins fairly well. Calyx Man gets the best of the break from the middle of the line. Justify moving up second.
This is Nehf, thoroughbred trainer and owner in Southern California, with a final look at the upcoming Preakness Stakes with Justify and a small field. Just 8 horses scheduled to go off in the race, and there is rain for the rest of the week. It's going to be a very off track. It will be sealed like the track at the Kentucky Derby at Churchill Downs, where they compress the track. So rather than absorb the water, it's supposed to drain off the surface and go to the inside of the oval. The weather could also be a factor in the field size, because you may get a horse or two that will scratch from the race because of the weather, and that could make an even smaller field. And I think a smaller field is going to play into the hands of Justify. I think that's going to help him, not hinder him. Justify has a great post position in the number 7 hole. All but 2 of the horses on the inside of Justify like to go close to the lead, sit first or second. And of course, who doesn't like to sit second? That's a perfect spot to draft and be in the clear so you can make your move when you want to. But Justify has demonstrated the power, the strength, and the speed to take on any of these other horses and get into the position he wants to. And he's got a great post position for that, where they can size things up, then Mike Smith can settle in where he wants to be. The only horse in this field that really looks like a contender to me is Good Magic. And he finished second in the Derby, but he was beaten by over 2 lengths. I don't think he's going to really be that much of a factor when it comes to facing Justify. He'll probably finish second again, but he's going to come from further back off the pace. He'll probably sit 3rd or 4th, kind of middle of the pack, and then we'll look for him to make a run at the end at Justify. But unless Justify has some residual soreness in that left heel. We know that he had an issue with a bruise on that left heel, appears to be resolved. Or if Justify hasn't recovered fully from the exertion of the Derby. He certainly looks like he has, galloping nicely. Everybody's saying he's doing great, and I don't see any reason to doubt that. Here's Good Magic making a run at Justify in the Kentucky Derby, and Justify is really tired. He's got not much left to dig into, but nonetheless, Good Magic just didn't have it either. He's just not quite up to the caliber of Justify, and I don't think there's any horses out here right now that are. Now I'm going to back up a little bit and look at an earlier part of the Kentucky Derby. Good Magic gets a clean break. He stays close to the pace. He's never more than 4 or 5 lengths from Justify, and that's in pretty good position for a 20-horse field. But most of the race, he's only 2 or 3 lengths behind Justify. And towards the end, when he makes his run at Justify, he gets close, but he never catches him. And if you could make the argument that he was gaining ground throughout and approaching the wire, he was right there. Yeah, maybe he could be there for the Preakness in a little bit shorter race. But that's not the case. He never caught up to Justify, and Justify pulled away from him when the time came for him to do so. Now, I'm going to depart from my normal procedure here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about betting. What I did in the Kentucky Derby was I figured Justify was pretty much unbeatable, and I wheeled him with a handful of horses in an exacta, which means I had Justify finishing first with any one of 4 or 5 other horses finishing second. Good Magic was one of those horses. The exacta paid $38.80 for a $1 ticket. So that was a nice move. Now, I don't see any reason to do anything differently for the Preakness. I still see Justify as the horse to beat. And you could wheel him with a few of the horses in the Preakness field, and if any one of those finishes second, and hopefully if Good Magic knocks himself out and somebody passes him at the end and finishes second in front of him, it'll be another nice payoff for an exacta. So it's something to think about. I'm not recommending that you do that, and I'm not recommending that you even wager on this race. God forbid. That said, good luck with your handicapping, and subscribe if you haven't so you can get a notification with our next video when it comes out. You can also look at our videos about our horse that we're campaigning at Santa Anita, Lord Admiral. And once again, good luck at the races, and we'll have another report for you after the Preakness.